Welcome to Ageless and Outrageous, your favorite podcast about how to age amazingly. I'm urogynecologist and hormone and sexual health expert, Dr. Kristen Jackson. Every week, my incredible and knowledgeable nurse practitioner, Rosalind Arp, and I share our combined 30 years experience to guide both men and women as they age. Listen as we dive into a variety of topics, including hormone optimization, pelvic floor health, maintaining a vibrant sex life, weight gain issues, and skin, hair, and body changes as we age. These real-life insights are always rooted in solid scientific knowledge. Tune in for a dose of laughter, knowledge, and an honest perspective on the incredible adventure of growing older.
We are always talking about perimenopause and menopause and the stages that women go through at this time of their lives. But sometimes those terms themselves can actually be confusing. It may not be inherently clear what we're referring to when we talk about these different stages that women go through. So today's episode is all about making sure that we are all speaking the same language. We want our listeners to know exactly what we're talking about when we refer to different stages of menopause, and we want you to know some of the abbreviations that are out there and what they actually mean.
And you may not think that understanding menopause stages is important, but let's just look at how many women this condition affects. If you are a woman blessed to live long enough, you will definitely go through menopause. It's inevitable. And for most women, this change occurs between the ages of 40 and 58. The percentage of women worldwide who are over age 50 is rapidly rising. In 1990, there were 471 million women worldwide over the age of 50. By 2015, there were 861 million worldwide over the age of 50. So that's an increase of over 82%. In the year 2020, 64 million of those women over age 50 lived in the United States. And by the year 2060, that's projected to be over 90 million women in the United States. With women having a life expectancy of 81 years, they will spend 40% of their lives in the menopausal state. There is a huge amount of research, money, and interest focused on childhood development and prenatal care, but a disproportionately minuscule amount focused on the care and optimization of the health of the menopausal woman. And that just makes no sense with these huge numbers. I just discussed this because the condition affects almost half of our world.
Right. And so let's look at the stages that women go through as they age. You can pretty much divide a woman's lifetime into three main stages. The reproductive age, when we still have our periods and is still considered fertile. The menopausal transition, and the postmenopausal stage, when her periods have stopped and she's no longer fertile. That's the most basic division we can think of. And the reproductive stage starts with a girl's first menstrual cycle, and that signals that she's able to carry a baby. Menstrual cycle continues until sometime into the 40s or sometimes even the early 50s. During this stage, hormone rises and falls fairly regularly with each monthly cycle. This high hormone environment protects women's health in so many ways, keeping their hearts and bones and brains healthy, and not to mention keeping their skin and hair and nails looking young.
And now we enter the menopause transition, usually sometime between the ages of 45 and 55. Sometimes this transitional time is called the climacteric. This is a time when menstrual cycles become irregular, hormone secretion starts to really become variable, and ovulation is inconsistent. What women can experience during this time is a whole group of different symptoms with their menstrual cycles. Some women notice very little change to their menstrual cycles, other than their bleeding gets shorter and lighter each month until eventually their cycles fade away completely. Great for them. They have won the menopause transition lottery. But for many women, they experience bleeding irregularities like this. One time, their periods are 3 weeks apart. The next time, their period is 6 weeks apart. Then the next time it comes in 4 weeks. They just never know when to expect it. Bleeding can get heavier and filled with blood clots during this time frame. As women progress further into the menopause transition, they should be experiencing longer and longer times without a menstrual cycle. So sometimes women will go 3 or 4 months with no period, and then their bleeding will come back. And then they might go 5 to 6 months without a bleed, and then a little bleed comes back. All of this menstrual cycle irregularity is associated with significant fluctuations in hormones. Women are no longer having the expected nice rise and fall of their estrogen and progesterone, and it's this hormone fluctuation that is really responsible for so many of the symptoms that women experience during the menopause transition. More importantly, fertility is significantly decreased during this time, but it is not gone. We can only get pregnant if we ovulate during a menstrual cycle. And while many of the menstrual cycles in the menopause transition are not associated with an ovulation, there are no signs when it is. So contraception during this time is still critical if you're not looking to have a late in life baby.
Yes, we definitely don't want any surprises during the menopause transition. But for all women, the menstrual cycle, it will eventually end. And once they do, you have entered the postmenopausal timeframe. So in a woman's life, all of the time before her final menstrual period is the premenopausal time. And all of the time after it is the postmenopausal time. And the term perimenopause has a specific definition. It's a time frame from when your cycle begins to become irregular to 1 year after your final menstrual period. So the term perimenopause encompasses some of the menopausal changes and some of the postmenopausal time. Early in postmenopause is when women are most likely to experience vasomotor symptoms. These are hot flashes and night sweats. This time can also be associated with changes in sleep, changes in mood, more irritability, a higher risk of depression, difficulties with thinking and concentration, and a decrease or loss of their sex drive. In addition, the longer a woman remains in the postmenopause timeframe without treatment, she's increasing her risk for heart disease, for osteoporosis and fractures, and the development of dementia.
Well, that sounds great. We should definitely let that happen to all women all the time. Why should women over 50 need to feel vibrant and amazing and stay healthy for the last half of their lives? I don't think there's any need for you and I to go to work anymore, Rosalind. We can just let women experience all of these postmenopausal symptoms for the last 40 years of their lives, feeling old, overweight, confused, incontinent, and uninterested in sex.
No, of course not. And if you haven't figured it by now, the main solution for all these issues is proper hormone replacement. And when we talk about hormone replacement, there's another whole alphabet soup of acronyms that you may hear that can get very confusing. A term we commonly use is HRT, which stands for hormone replacement therapy. Some physicians just use HT for hormone therapy. That's a catch-all term that can refer for replacing estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, or any combination of these. It can also refer to hormone replacement, however those hormones make it into your body, whether that's oral tablets or patches or creams or pellets that go under your skin. Sometimes we talk about the specific type of replacement you're getting. That might be ERT, which is estrogen replacement therapy, or TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy.
And then just to throw one more in the mix, there's BHRT, or bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. There tends to be a lot of confusion and misinformation about the term bioidentical, so let's break it down. The bio part means the hormone you're taking comes from a plant source. The identical part means the hormone you're taking chemically looks exactly like the hormone that your body makes. This is in contrast to synthetic hormones, which chemically may look different from the hormones that ovaries and testicles produce. So a bioidentical hormone means a plant-based hormone that chemically looks exactly like what our ovary or testicle would make. Some of the confusion comes because some hormone preparations you can get from a pharmaceutical lab. Those are the ones you get at Walgreens or CVS, whereas other hormone preparations come from a compounding pharmacy. Some of the hormone formulations from a pharmaceutical lab are bioidentical. Some examples of this would be Senestin, which is an oral estradiol, or vaginal estradiol cream, or even the Vivel or Minivel patch, which are estradiol patches. All of these formulations are available by prescription through your regular pharmacy, and they can be considered bioidentical because they come from plant sources and they look exactly like the estradiol that your ovary makes. Pharmaceutical labs can also provide you with synthetic hormones. A good example of this is oral Premarin or vaginal Premarin cream. Both of these formulations are a group of estrogen that has been synthesized from the urine of pregnant horses. These estrogens are clearly not from a plant source. They're from an animal source. And chemically, they're going to look different than what our ovary produces. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but Premarin actually has a site where you can go and look at the horses that they make their drugs from.
Oh, really?
Some patients were concerned that the pregnant horses were not being treated ethically in order to create this drug. So Premarin decided to actually put up a site and show the ethical care of their horses and make sure that they knew they were well taken care of and they were just collecting their urine and then, purifying out the conjugated equine estrogens from it.
That's interesting.
Now, compounding pharmacies, on the other hand, can create both bioidentical hormones as well as synthetic hormones. The main difference between a compounding pharmacy and your standard pharmacy is that compounding pharmacies can make your hormone preparation in any dose that your provider may prescribe, as where your standard pharmacy is going to be limited to the doses that the drug manufacturer has created. Also, compounding pharmacies are currently the only type of pharmacy that produce hormone pellets. So if you're using that route of administration, you're going to have to use a compounding pharmacy. Now, as a patient or as a consumer of this information, I wouldn't expect anyone to understand the intricacies of how a compounding pharmacy makes their drugs or what are the differences between pharmaceutical drugs and compounded drugs. That's why it's so important to see a menopause specialist when you're thinking about hormone replacement treatment. This is the kind of stuff that Rosalind and I and menopause providers around the country are really passionate about. We love understanding the science behind it and the differences and the benefits and risk of all of these things. And we love educating our patients about it so that you can make the right choice if you decide to proceed with hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, and my favorite part of my job is when I not only educate my patients about all the benefits of proper hormone replacement therapy, but then when I get to see that the patient's back and see that she's actually feeling the benefits of it. And to be able to take all this knowledge that we are constantly reading and educating ourselves about and distill it down into an understandable 10-minute discussion with my patients is really important. And once they start to feeling better from their proper hormone replacement therapy, it's incredibly rewarding.
It's so true. We have a newer provider in our practice who we have trained on hormone replacement therapy. And she just told me yesterday about a patient that she started on hormone pellets, and the patient is back and just saying how incredible she feels. She's renewed her sex life with her husband. They feel like teenagers. She's feeling clear-headed and no more fatigue. And our provider was so excited about it to get that immediate positive feedback on what she's doing for her patient.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. No information from this recording is intended as a diagnosis or treatment for any disease. If you are enjoying the show, please subscribe so you don't miss any of our exciting episodes. And we love to hear from our listeners and would be grateful for your positive review. We'll talk next time.